Hello, and welcome to an August edition of ITDUG. I love technology so much. Forgive my background. I was able to take a last minute trip to see family, and I'm calling from the car to host this webinar, but I'm also super excited to be able to do so. So welcome. Throw up the slideshow, Brendan, and we'll get started. All right, so today we're going to talk about writing effective knowledge-based articles. But first, a quick history on ITDUG. Where to find us. This was originally formed on Facebook for ITDUG. We've since spread to Reddit and many other places. We were originally founded by Tracy Harden, who owns an MSP in Kentucky called Next Century Technology. As you can see here, we've grown quickly from back in 2018 with just a few hundred members to now over 5,100 members. So please keep inviting, because getting the brain trust to work for us is everybody's best interest. I will be your host today, really just here to pull out information from our guest. I help administer ITDUG. I've written on lots of topics related to process and documentation, which is why I love doing this. And I'm also a serial entrepreneur, love learning new ways to make these things happen. So introducing our guest today, our speaker, Brendan. He is on the Gozenta team. He runs our support department as well as being our what is it called? Compliance officer. That's the word. Compliance officer. He asked the hard question to make us work. He's also an expert in the areas of service delivery, and he has been in leadership roles in many different industries, including our. Also rewritten most of the knowledge-based articles at gozenta.com. And even video content. So I was excited to pick his brain today, and I'm looking forward to it. So just real quick, I'll go over the agenda and I'll turn it over to Brendan. We're going to hit a couple of brief points, like what is technical writing in the first place? So we're going to use that word a couple times. What is that one process to rule them all? I hope you know the answer already. The benefits of a knowledge base. How to organize those articles to make them easier to find. The knowledge base review cycle, as well as tips and tricks for making a better KBA, as this title promised. So, Brendan, I'll let you take it away, and I'm going to be here to try to grab questions from all of you guys in our various audiences, and I will try to ask my own hard questions as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Alan. So first I want to go over what is technical writing. Technical writing is defined as creating clear and accurate documentation that conveys complex information effectively. So first, really, the best practice here is to understand your audience. What is their level of expertise and what information needs to be conveyed? Meaning that your technical writing for your internal team may be very, very different than the technical writing for your client base. We want to make sure that we are maintaining consistency across terminology and formatting across all articles. A clear structure, meaning that you're organizing it with contents and headings, bullet points if available, and summaries, avoiding really blocks of text. We want to see what the key points are and action steps in a really clear manner. It's controversial, but you want to include a feedback loop. You want feedback on your knowledge-based articles, because regularly reviewing these feedback from your clients will let you know what's working, what's not, and allows you the opportunity to actually improve your articles.
Now, on those first 3 points, Brendan, I immediately thought of the books for dummies, whether it was IT for dummies or whatever for dummies. They always had a very consistent layout. Lots of bullet points, and they would even tell you ahead of time, hey, bold means this, italics means this. So they have that clear structure throughout. Is that the right type of example you're thinking of?
It is. I'm looking more for consistency and an organizational structure. The article should clearly tell the users that they found the right article, because we all are busy. We don't want to read through a block of text. We don't want to read through lengthy articles just to get to the end and say, that's not exactly what I was looking for.
Right.
Because now I'm just going to send a ticket to support. The last key point on these best practices is to ensure accessibility. We want to make sure that the information is easily navigable and understandable. If you have pictures, we want to make sure that those pictures have a description in the back end. So anybody using a screen reader will understand what that picture is.
Important. Great for searchability, too, if you ever have them public facing.
Absolutely. So the process is the who, what, when, where, and how of the process. Alan, you've done a great job with the process. We have the process link from the Eureka community. Can you share a little bit about the process?
Sure. I mean, the process is really the blueprint for your documentation platform and system. Where are you going to store things? Who's responsible for it? What is it going to contain? How are you going to write those? When do you update and create documentation? And why does this document even exist? And I think you've already hit on the why a little bit as well. So apparently this is also important for creating public-facing documentation, which is kind of our what for your knowledge base articles.
Yeah, absolutely. So why? Why create a knowledge base? Why spend the time? Why put in the effort? What is it in return for you? Well, and for your clients. Your clients get a self-service support, which means that the knowledge base allows them to find answers to questions. We can reduce their dependency on customer support and definitely find a quicker resolution. Consistent information ensures that all clients are getting the same information time after time. Linking back to these knowledge base articles can really help the support technicians help the clients. Steps are clear, less writing in the long run. Best part is it's available 24/7. So when a client wants to take a look at that at 11 o'clock at night because they ran into an issue, it's available. You do get improved customer satisfaction when they can solve the problems on their own. It's a huge win for them. I know that my least favorite task is reaching out to a support team. So if I can read through that knowledge-based article first and solve the problem, that solves a lot of back and forth. It solves a lot of time. So your users definitely get improved satisfaction on this.
Yeah, good customer support is one thing, but not even having it's even better.
We all can't work 24/7. So let your knowledge base do the work for you. So internally, when you create internal process, internal knowledge base, you streamline your training. That means that new employees can get set up faster with a comprehensive knowledge base that includes process, procedure, best practices, and company policies. Everybody gets the same knowledge. It's extremely efficient. I know that in my current role, when I've actually had to go back to my own knowledge base and look at my own articles to review things that I haven't done in a little bit. So you can go back, even if you forgot, and look at the knowledge that you shared prior.
And it saves me so much time rather than having to refigure things out again.
Exactly. Which also leads to the next one, which is consistent operations. This is my favorite part because when you have consistency in your operations, that process that is put in place from said knowledge base articles can be followed by any member of the team.
It helps prevent that leaky bucket syndrome where knowledge is a little less each time it's passed to somebody else that we talked about in previous webinars.
Yeah, and if you did miss that webinar, it's available on our YouTube. Highly worth going back to watch. So when you have an internal facing document, it can reduce the support load by providing a repository of information. So internal support teams can handle any kind of queries that come in. So you're going to have a client facing knowledge base article that will guide through the process, but you may have an internal knowledge base article that guides your technicians through that process. And documentation of best practices allows for the documentation and standardization of best practices throughout your entire company. It's pretty critical for maintaining quality and efficiency.
Absolutely. Some people will actually prefer consistency even over best. I think we can do both, though.
Oh, absolutely. So how do I organize all of the articles? Which is probably the number one question I get. And the key here is that your documentation should be organized in a way that it's easy for the client to find or your employees to find through the navigation of your documentation platform, or more importantly, searchability. I am huge on the searchability because I may not know where a document lives, but if I know how to search for it, I'll find it every time.
Yeah, I think if we all search through our behaviors and how do we find information in this day and age is almost never through browsing and typically through searching.
Yeah, pretty standard. Anything that I need to go find, I'm searching for. So what are organizational best practices here? The document structure should be preset as a template and used across all clients. So if you're using a documentation platform and give access through ITDUG, there should be a template for the structure that is followed throughout all clients. Now, when you need to go grab a document for one of the clients or you have an external knowledge base, that document structure is the same.
Yeah, and no matter what platform you use, some of them might have a template feature, some might not, but you can always use like a read-only copy and paste template. There's lots of ways to solve that template problem.
Absolutely. I know that echoes into if you go through our knowledge base, whether you're using text, goes into payments, or goes into Mobius, our knowledge base folder structure is the same across all of our software for our clients. The document should include keywords and tags, which is really important in the searchability of the documents. And then naming standards. We have an entire document on the Eureka community called Naming Standards. I'll link it below in this video, but it goes through our best practices of prepending the document type abbreviation to the internal document name, using common non-technical terminology for your clients to follow, and documenting your naming standards and organization SOP and your process. This ensures all employees are trained on the process and you can find your documents easily.
So your process will tell you what your naming standards are so that we're all consistent, which makes it easy to know what to call documents as well as how to find documents. Got it.
So the best example of this that I could find was actually surprisingly on Apple's website. Their documents are organized with a prepended name, letters, and then a document number. And it corresponds with hardware relation, software relation, or anything else. So it's really well organized and documented for ease of navigation, whether you're a customer or in my past life, I was a Apple iOS certified, well, I guess I still am, technician, and finding those documents internally was super simple.
How many lives have you had, Brendan?
6 or 7.
This is part of the big part of the reason I'm so happy to have you on the team and giving this presentation, because I feel like I've been in the MSP industry for so long that I wonder what I'm missing, what fresh ideas are out there. So thank you for bringing this additional content in.
So coming from IT in a retail establishment made it really easy to navigate into the MSP space and then take what I learned there and apply it holistically at an MSP. So I just want to go through a couple of documentation type abbreviations that we use internally, such as SOP, which defines a series of steps to accomplish a task. A template, which means it's a copy and paste. Frequent emails, building documents. So for our error resolution, knowledge-based articles, those are templatized so that the video is at the top. The summary, the error, and the resolution is at the bottom. Policies are information about how we operate. That's not a series of steps. A knowledge base is a list of information about topics. It might be useful, but it's not a series of steps. Training is a document to help train either users or employees, but it's not meant to be a step-by-step instruction. And TSOP, which stands for Technical SOP, includes the step-by-step to solve technical issues, and can be used for clients as well as your internal.
Hey, Brendan, would you be able to move our video boxes to a different side of the screen, perhaps bottom right? I know some of these slides have content in different places. We were just blocking some of the text. Ooh, that's good. Thank you.
All right.
Just a quick tip that I actually learned this last week. I have personally been switching more and more away from Outlook and Microsoft into Gmail and web-based. And I actually started building URLs that I found where I can templatize an email, but I can create a link that will automatically put to field if I know that the subject line and pre-populate the body for me in Gmail. And I found that very handy as a template where I have one click, all that's done for me, and all I have to do is make my edits and click send.
No, that's perfect. You're gonna have to show me that.
Just figured it out. Just figured it out.
So when we talk about navigation, to improve navigation, we want clear titles and consistency across the titles. For example, for configuration articles that we have on Gozinta, if it's relating to mapping, it's labeled GL mapping. You know that you're going to the GL setup tables and what you're going to find in the articles. The articles at that point are consistent throughout. Cross-linking is critical in your knowledge base, whether it's client-facing, internal-facing. Again, this leads to, I don't want to read a wall of text. I don't have time to read a wall of text. I want the steps straightforward, right? So if you're linking to another knowledge base that's going to help, rather than enter the entire article over again, which then leads to duplication, it leads to needing to update it in 2 places. It's more effective to link the articles to enhance that navigation.
Sometimes I have the same problem when I'm creating a large article to begin with. The question becomes, do I leave it in this article or do I make it its own article cross-linked? And usually my deciding factor is, would I ever do this step independently? Perhaps the easiest example would be new client onboarding. right? There's lots of things you might do, like setting up a firewall by your standards, for example. That might happen in its own vacuum. So I have a separate TSOP for that. And I will just link to it in my larger SOP of new client onboarding.
I think that doing it independently is definitely a key factor. But if you're going to link, if you have multiple SOPs, technical SOPs, knowledge-based articles that would benefit from that section, that's also another point to link it. So in our best practice articles, at the bottom of my articles, I have technical SOP for troubleshooting some of these issues. So here's our best practice for configuration, and here's my troubleshooting article. Our software will link to those articles for troubleshooting, but if you're going to think, hey, I need to verify this, and oh wait, look, now there's troubleshooting articles down here, I don't have to go look for it. It's
right.
less likely that I'm going to reach out to support because I may have found my answer in one of those articles.
Now, Alex is asking the question that we get asked a lot. It's a lot of fun to answer, which is what platform do we use? And I will just start with originally Eureka Process was on ITGlue. I have another business that's on SharePoint, another one that's on Google Drive as their platform system. We're currently using Confluence in-house, and our KBAs are actually stored in Freshdesk. But we're in the middle. Actually, Brendan's in the middle of migrating them to Halo PSA. And I've seen Hoodoo implementations and SharePoint implementations. I've seen lots of systems. So usually the system is not the limiting factor. It's following all of these steps while using the system. And Brendan, do you have more systems to add platforms that you've used?
Well, yeah, Halo. I've used ConnectWise's knowledge-based system as well. So it really, I find, doesn't matter what system you use. As long as your process is clear, it can really be applied to anything.
I mean, I'm in the middle of trying to apply this to a nightclub right now. It is working. It's a little slower with a different demographic of people, but follow the system. We have a process for a nightclub. Imagine that. It works.
So it absolutely does. So I just threw up an example of how you might organize certain areas. So client documentation articles, site information, shared drive access restrictions. We do have client asset documentation template on the Eureka community that can definitely help with if you need an idea to get started. So excellent. When it comes to searchability and navigation, keywords and tags, choosing relevant keywords that could be searchable and adding tags for ease of categorization can really help in the searchability. And let's not forget the cross-linking. So meat and potatoes. There's a link to the client asset documentation template that I was just referring to. The templates are your key to consistency. I can't say it enough. They help in all aspects. So your title and introduction should have clear and descriptive titles. It should explain what the article is going to be in just a couple of words. When possible, include a table of contents, especially if the article's on the longer side, so that you don't have to waste time going to search for different articles. And those headers should also be descriptive of what's coming. They should also identify in the introduction that they found the correct article.
Yeah, and if you have to have a table of contents, do ask yourself the questions, should this be more than one article? That's not a black and white rule, but I like to just test that to make sure it's not too long or contain too much information.
No, absolutely. So your body content should be organized information logically, step by step, problem solution, question then answer, or just a couple of examples on how you can do that. Headings, subheadings, and bullet points. I can't stress that bullet points enough. If you're writing technical documentation on how to resolve an error, the error should be written exactly as the client sees it. The client is most likely going to copy the error and paste it into your knowledge base to find a solution. Adding visual elements for client-facing articles to incorporate screenshots, videos, diagrams, ensure clarity and relevance of the visuals. And my personal favorite, I spent a lot of time when I got hired at Gozinta creating how-to videos for those who prefer to visualize the process. And I'm pretty sure those videos have more hits than my actual knowledge base article itself.
Now, at the same time, if any of you are scared of videos, start with the text, just like we did. We came back after all the text was pretty sound, and then we added the videos back after, which also gave Brendan something to talk about. It gave you a script, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you may have to adjust the script a little bit, but either way, they're fun to make, and then definitely help out a whole lot. So I saw this reference on ITDUG of technical writing and the example of a cup of tea. And I thought that this was such an interesting reference that I had to share. Excuse me. So these steps are from Tetley Tea on how to make the perfect brew. And it's extremely well written in technical writing. You're going to start with fresh water, place your tea bag, bring it to a boil, steep, remove tea bag. It very cut and dry on what you need to do.
It uses bullet points.
It uses numbers. Good. Yep. And then there's the green tea variation, which I thought was interesting, as it's altered just a little bit.
Yeah, I was telling Brendan in our preparation call for this that I actually, if I was writing these SOPs, I would make it 1, because basically the only difference is the parentheticals off to the side about the green tea. So I would make it 1, but still very clear, easy to find. I think they're adding overhead to maintaining the SOPs, not that these should change very often, unlike our industry. But certainly easy to find for the client by labeling them this way and making them separate.
Absolutely. So the review cycle is the key to keeping your knowledge base up to date. You have your core content, you have your structure. You write your initial content based on the subject matter, and your subject matter expert should be reviewing it. You want to make sure that the subject matter expert is included for technical accuracy. They may have insight that you don't. That collaboration is key to this. Once the content's first draft is out, you want to edit for clarity, consistency, and readability. Verify the format, verify the structure, and adherence to your style guides, also known as the process. And you get your create and edit for your first draft, which also comes full circle to after receiving feedback.
And I love even having the formatting as the 4th step. So please, style and formatting is important, but get the content out of your head first, and then we can fix that.
Exactly. Absolutely. Once you get all of that formatting done, you do a final review, obtain approval from the subject matter expert in your documentation czar. Alan, what is the documentation czar?
I believe it's the topic for our next webinar. The documentation czar is a person responsible for your documentation platform. This doesn't have to be your technical admin. This doesn't have to be the person that writes all the articles. It's really the person who's responsible for making sure the process is being adhered to inside of your documentation platform. It's not a full-time job, but it is a dedicated job. One person only.
Which brings us right up to my meat and potatoes lately. Compliance check. Verify it meets the organizational standards. Publish it to the knowledge base. And if possible, notify your users.
Even internally, we meet once a week for 15 to 30 minutes reviewing all updated processes to make sure we're all aware. Sometimes the update is, I fixed grammar. Sometimes it's like, hey guys, just know next time you follow this SOP, it's different. Please read it.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. Just here, this has changed. Go read it. Let me know if you have any questions. The third step of the review cycle is to collect feedback. And this is often overlooked, or the feedback isn't reviewed. This is critical to making sure that your knowledge base is up to date and giving your users what they need. So every month I go into our knowledge base, I review the feedback, I review any comments, and I review the article to make sure, and most likely I need to edit it to ensure that it's meeting the client's needs. It takes me no more than an hour to do. And it's continually improving your knowledge base. I know that Freshdesk, Halo, certain other platforms do have performance metrics that track usage through analytics. If you do have those, they're very useful. And quickly identifying knowledge base articles that need attention. Once you receive the feedback, review your articles to ensure the ongoing relevance and accuracy. Things change all the time. We want to make sure that we're staying on top of it. Critical piece here is that if you are including screenshots in your client-facing knowledge base articles, those screenshots are most likely going to need to be updated periodically because of changes, updates to the user interface. That's why we put them in our client-facing articles, but we don't necessarily put them in our internal training docs. Simple enough, revise based on the new information, user feedback, and changes. And there you have the entire review cycle. From start to finish.
Are you printing this one, putting it on your wall, Brendan?
I am. It's going to go right behind me.
Nice.
So I know that a lot of people are thinking, oh my God, I have a lot of work to do. We have a guide called the Client Asset Documentation Committee. It's on TEC. The documentation committee reviews one document through this process or a similar process and will start to help you get through the documentation edits to get to brand standards, consistency, and help you with a review cycle. So that Client Asset Documentation Committee guide is well worth the download and read because it's definitely helped a few of our clients at that. So tips, tricks, and best practices, accessibility, make sure that your articles are accessible for all users, including those with disabilities. Ensure template consistencies are applied and the contents are what you would expect. Regularly maintain your knowledge base. Yes, it takes additional labor, but if it's done properly, those metrics will help you identify problem areas and correct them quickly. Provide training to the knowledge base contributors on the principles of your process. The point of documentations are, and if you're curious about this, It'll be reviewed on, I believe, our next ITDUG webinar, and put together a documentation committee.
Sounds great. So thank you so much, Brendan, for that content. I was very happy to have you do this. I know you do a lot of work between this time presenting the content and trying to run this webinar, especially while I'm out and about traveling in the great province of Alberta, Canada. A little more than usual, we also mentioned theeurekacommunity.com or TEC. If you do grab a copy of the book, it's like $7. And inside of there is a coupon code to get access to that community for free. You don't have to stick around past 30 days if you don't want. We'd love you to. But you can grab the documents he was talking about today, including the client asset documentation, the documentation committee, and much, much more. Also, this video will be posted on YouTube along with other ITDUG videos and other advice that we like to give for free to our community. I saw a recent stat on our YouTube channel. Every hour of every day, somebody's watching a video on that channel. So somebody out there is finding it valuable. I would love to have you as a subscriber to our YouTube channel. It's just youtube.com/Eureka Process. Can't wait to see you there and help you watch this video as well. And we're there in the comments as well, answering questions about these videos. And I will hope to join you next week. Next month in our ITDUG, which turns out is internal job descriptions. Brendan, I think we're getting confused between our community conference call topic, which is a part of the Eureka community, and ITDUG. We apologize for that. But we're going to talk about internal job descriptions. I'm going to give you a preview. They're far simpler than you're making them out to be. I'm going to show you a very easy formula to create the 3x3x3 internal job descriptions. Spoiler alert, it's not a job ad. They're different. So thank you all for coming. I hope you get a chance to join us on our YouTube channel or to look at the book Process and the Other P Word. And we'll see you next month at ITDUG or inside of the community. It's facebook.com/groups/ITDUG. And we also have that on Reddit now, if you would like to check it out there. Thanks again. And so long, everybody.